Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Fire Force, Season 3, Part 2.
Yep, Fire Force, Season 3, Episode 16. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and I hate weather in California during the wintertime. It was 80 degrees last week. Last night it was below freezing. It's good times. I'm not losing my mind. You're losing my mind. Exactly.
Friggin', yeah. Like, it's been relatively temperate here lately, but this morning when I went to go take care of the birds, friggin', it was only like 19, but felt like it was like 8 degrees.
Yeah, it's great. You guys ever just like walk outside and it's like, oh yeah, it was 80 today, or it was mid 70s the last couple days, high 40s at night, whatever, average stuff for the West Coast, or if you live in an area that's similar. Walk outside, you just have t-shirt on, maybe like sweatpants, whatever. Like, yeah, whatever, that wasn't a big deal. And it's like, 9:30 at night, you forgot to get your mail, whatever. Last night, I did that. 5 p.m. and I walked back in, I was pretty much an icicle. It was already, low 40s. Losing my mind, So if anybody else out there is losing their mind, you're not alone. I know I shouldn't complain. I live in California, but I have other reasons to complain about living in California, not just the weather. But yeah, it's just it's the spiking that gets me. It'd be one thing if it was always cold, fine. Always temperate or hot, fine. I can live with that. But it's the Tokyo Revengers roller coaster that it's always I can't do it. It's out of control. But speaking of things that are sort of in control, but not really, Shinra's family. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're doing anime, not a weather report. Imagine that. Who do I look like? Matt Bragg? But that guy did a weather report in the middle of a tornado in Minecraft, so I don't think anything's gonna compete with that. But anyway, I don't know. We're still in the whole do they have enough time situation. Kind of beating a dead horse with that, but it's something you see all over the place. Like, it's definitely spreading throughout the community. It's like, as I believe they're halfway through the season on the sub now, or at least 7 episodes in, and people are concerned, and potentially rightfully so. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, the main thing people are really freaking worried about is that that they're gonna soul eater it, which is, once again, like, the series itself was fine, but then the freaking ending killed it for most people.
Yep. So either way, in the next couple weeks here, I'll probably start reading the source material, not from the beginning, because that'd be an endeavor, but from like where this season starts here, or where this part of the season starts to the end, just to see what happens and to compare and stuff. So we was something we talked about, and get up to the point where, after halfway through the season, we'll talk about it and be like, okay, this is the stuff they potentially skipped or whatnot, and we'll just have to see what happens. Either way, not a lot of Shinra's company, in the first couple episodes here. Just random other stuff that, in all reality, outside of Benimaru doing the moon thing, not really a lot has occurred.
Yeah.
Once again, they're on a clock, so it doesn't really feel like they've progressed through a lot of chapters. So we'll just have to...
we confirmed the whole thing with freaking Sho and Shinra's mother, which was we already had basically all the pieces of that. It just needed an actual confirmation on it, basically. The only thing that was really, like, totally new out of that was just the whole thing of the virgin birth shenanigans, and which we couldn't really put together until recently anyway, because of the whole, like, we didn't have the context of Adola basically being the collective unconscious.
Yep. Also, if you guys see me randomly shaking my head, it's because Crunchyroll is trying super hard to claim that I'm not paying money for this, and they keep telling me that I'm not a premium member, which I am. I just saw the charge on my credit card like 3 days ago, so it renewed, and it's sitting here like just. We're sitting here waiting to start the episode. If this is going to be the thing where now that they've maybe heard me complaining about the player, now the player is, instead of pausing and resetting the episode, now it's just going to kick me off of premium membership momentarily till I reload my browser, I'm going to lose my mind. Because, when we first came here earlier, it was trying to tell me that I wasn't a premium member. Close the browser, open it, no problem. And now we're sitting here just doing our intro here, and it's like, you took too long to start the episode, and now it's trying to tell me I'm not a premium member. I F5 the page Brock Lesnar style, and all of a sudden I'm good again. They need to get their shit together, man. Yeah. If you're gonna start charging more money, especially increasing your prices by 25%, which again, for something that used to be $8, which is now $10, that's basically a 25% increase. It's somewhere between 20 and 25. I don't want to do this the major math. It's at least a 20% increase, which is substantial. You might want to have your shit together, and they're offering less for more money at this point. So, but most companies are doing that. Look what's happening with WWE. They can't pay people to buy tickets to WrestleMania.
$8 to $10 is a 25% increase, but also, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, like we didn't get it, but apparently, on the like, frickin', they can't do their own subtitles properly anymore. Shenanigans. Apparently, in the last episode of JJK, if you're watching the sub, it was abysmal, apparently, because of like on the English dub, we didn't get that bad because it was only subtitling bits and pieces of Tengen's spreadsheets. But when it was on the sub, apparently it was totally abysmal to freaking watch because it was trying to subtitle what everyone was saying plus all of Tengen's spreadsheets at the same time, and it was apparently a shit show that everyone like really freaking had a problem with.
So they couldn't have the characters speaking at the bottom of the screen and Tengen stuff in brackets at the top of the screen, so they can't run an overlay properly. It's not hard, you guys. There's so much better software than just... It frustrates me because there's software out there that makes this stuff way easier. I'm not talking about AI. I'm just talking about stuff like, Streamlabs, OBS, whatever program that you use for recording or streaming or whatever. There's so many easy, like, one-button overlays. And if I wanted to, I could set up a thing like, when we start the episode and you see our name burns come in and they fade in and out. Yeah, that's just me editing. But I could absolutely set up that exact sequence on a one-button push on a Stream Deck. It would fade in, play the thing, and that's it, and be gone. It is the same thing for the subtitles. All you have to do is sync them up if they have to just have somebody edit the episode and then re-upload it to whatever streaming service, in this case Crunchyroll. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? Even if you're having an editor go in and manually put in the subtitles with, pick your program, whatever you edit with, you know what I mean? Premiere, it doesn't matter. It's fascinating to me that people are getting worse at jobs as stuff is easier to do because there are like these things called templates that exist now for these exact situations. And all you have to do is basically copy paste and make sure that it's going off at the right time. It's not a big deal. So I don't know how stuff like that even happens. Because at that point, the editor should also be the QA person. Just export it and then just quickly watch through the episode at like 2 times speed. And then just make sure everything came out properly, and that's it. It's not rocket surgery. You know what I mean? So that's
closer to brain science.
Right. So I don't know. I feel for the people that have to deal with that kind of crap. Especially if you prefer subs over dubs, which is totally fine. People can watch whatever they want. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter either way. but it's that kind of thing that just for anybody who saw like our it happened in Campfire Cooking in like the second or third to last episode, where the overlays that Crunchyroll had were just like, I don't even know how you release that as a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just randomly getting freaking subtitles for an overlay that won't show up for 4 more minutes.
Right.
Or right at the end of the episode, getting like 5 different overlays for things that happened like within the first like 10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah. So to me, that tells me bad AI use, and they might be using an AI in real time as people are watching the show, which is even worse. Because not only is that taking a job away from somebody, the AI might just not be coded properly or just not, various reasons. Like recently, I don't know if you guys saw it really quick here, apparently an Amazon AI agent didn't like the code that it saw from an actual engineer and deleted the code, and they had to like rebuild code for something from the ground up because the AI was randomly given agency to delete code. Why would you allow it to do that? It's just supposed to look at it. You know what I mean? So you gave it the actual agency and ability to delete something. It's just like, if it's not supposed to be able to do that, why would you have it in there to allow it to do something like that? It's...
Like, if you're going to give it any sort of agency to actually modify code, you have to do it in an isolated copy. Don't give it access to the original.
Right. So it could spit out like, hey, I fixed I changed it. Like the AI agent could come back and say, hey, I fixed this code. Here's what I changed. As opposed to, hey, I changed the code, by the way, or deleted it because it was inferior or bad or whatever. Like, oh, that's fantastic. So once again, in short, people in charge of stuff, super questionable. So I don't know. I'm not in charge of any of this. I can just talk about what I see. So all that stuff aside, we're going to push some buttons and get going here. So people on Patreon, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the timer reaction, and people on YouTube side for the discussion and review. Link Patreon for the timer stuff is there, and YouTube is YouTube. Watch whatever you like. But I might have to get into a pitch battle with Crunchyroll today, and my F5 key might be getting a workout. So if you see me shaking my head annoyed, that's what I'm doing. So here goes something. Well, already then, massive Crunchyroll players problems aside, it's not even the player, it's the entire site is just completely borked. Their authentication servers, all of it. If you watch the Patreon stuff, you know what happened. We are currently not on Patreon. Or not on Patreon. Yeah, we're definitely not on Patreon. We're on YouTube. But currently not on Crunchyroll because we have no choice. And we had to record today, so it is. But there's always going to be other options, you know what I mean? So once again, we're paying 25% more, and the service has just declined. So, but this isn't really a discussion about Crunchyroll, so we're going to go back to what we're doing. Just know that, well, let's not forget that Crunchyroll started as, a black site. You know what I mean? So there are plenty of other alternatives out there that are run by fans and stuff like that are not trying to, steal your information or put viruses on your machine that you can go find and watch stuff that isn't Crunchyroll. It's kind of like the classic, if anybody ever was a fan of Firefly, Mr. I think his name was Mr. Universe, but the quote was, "You can't stop the signal, Mal. Can't stop the signal." So, anyway.
Yeah, I mentioned before, but the number one cause of piracy isn't a freaking drive to steal. It's a aversion to incompetence.
Yep.
It's people resort to piracy when they're being overcharged and freaking under provided.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happens when you don't have competition. You get complacent, and you can, greed sets in, and you overtax or overcharge your customers because they don't have any other option, which is shady as hell. That's why monopolies are generally a bad thing. That's a whole other discussion. But as for Fire Force, Yeah, I mean, this was something. Again, I definitely get the feeling that certain things were probably cut for this like sequence here. It was interesting to get a father and not a sister here. We haven't seen that. I think we got it like one other time in the series, and they kind of.
I mean, we've known that priests do exist. It's not just nuns, but yeah, it's predominantly been nuns who have served as the Fire Force of freaking religious units.
Right. So,
like we know, Burns was a father.
Yeah.
And so was the freaking the head of the 6th or whatever it was, the guy who died.
Yeah. He was one too. But either way, it was just kind of interesting to just kind of get something like that. But either way, we got the headbutt cannon, which apparently is a big deal until it ricochets and we can make World of Tanks joke.
Yeah, we've known that the second captain guy, he is very strong, and every time we've seen him, that's always been his signature move is the headbutt. But yeah, this is the first time we've seen this whole overly dramatic cannon.
Yeah. Well, which again, as you pointed out, the faster you go, the more damage you're going to do. So why not strap yourself to a cannon and, Bender did it in Futurama, so anybody should be able to do it, right?
Yeah, no, speed is a major factor in damage. I mean, that's how railguns function. Railgun projectiles are usually extremely tiny because they need to be in order to fire at the speeds that they do.
Right.
But even when it is a minuscule little bullet, when it's traveling at railgun speeds, it can still freaking go right through armor.
Right. I don't know how many people out there ever watched those documentaries on some of the U.S. military snipers that you shoot 50 caliber rounds, literally that have the kill records for a mile and a half, those kinds of things. But I mean, even those rounds, while they are large, the 50 cal round is something that big, but it's still small compared to a human body, generally speaking. But some of those guys, when they did the documentary on it, they talked about it mile away plus through concrete, and then the round shreds the initial target, and then takes out the other two on a mortar team that's behind a 3-inch thick concrete wall, all because of the speed applied to the bullet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that is absolutely insane. Just thinking about it. So it's just it's one of those things, physics. What was the Mass Effect line? Isaac Newton is the deadliest motherfucker in space.
Oh, yeah, that's more just about the lack of friction in space. Yeah. Pull the trigger on this son of a bitch, you are ruining someone's day, somewhere, sometime.
Yep. That's always kind of one of those weird things to think about. Just offhandedly, if you believe that there's life in the universe elsewhere, one of them might have fired a space gun at another spaceship and they missed, and it could slam into Earth at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does kind of depend on what kind of projectile it actually is, because gravity will affect it and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it could have been caught by in a nebula, black hole. It'd have to be extreme circumstances. You know what I mean? There are other things in the universe that would slow it down or catch it or what have you. It could slam into another celestial body, whatever. As
much as the Mass Effect thing is funny to quote, it's not entirely accurate, because there is friction in space. It's just minuscule. And then there's all the external factors of gravity, gravity from different celestial bodies actually running into things like nebula and other things that do have mass, even if it's small amounts of mass, will affect it. if you're dealing with, like, say, an energy weapon, the light will eventually disperse to a point where it's no longer friggin' dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, it's an entertaining quote, but it's not a totally accurate. Like, there is still a point when whatever you fired will eventually just kind of run out of energy.
Yeah. But either way, there's not really a ton to say about this episode outside of the, collective unconscious stuff that was very well explained in the episode, that kind of thing. Shinra's, it's kind of that same thing with, like, how we've made a lot of references to Persona in this instance, is kind of like what happens with the Phantom Thieves at the end of 5, where the public sees Yaldabaoth as like a god, and all their emotion and stuff is going straight to him, and he's able to overpower the Phantom Thieves until the social links are able to rally the people and the masses against the false god, right? So in this case, it's not something to that effect, because they see Raffles as the savior, because the majority of the people here in the Tokyo Empire are indoctrinated by the church. So,
which is by design, because
yeah,
Yona has been indoctrinating them for basically since the previous Cataclysm ended.
Right.
Masquerading as Raffles.
Yeah. So they basically are going to paint Shinra as the devil here, like they were. But Age mentioned it in between while we were dealing with nonsense, was any publicity is good publicity. So even if Shinra is being seen as a devil here, his power is going to increase, because it's still negative emotion being fed to him, but it's still power being fed to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when the entire power system is based on imagination, the more people that are thinking about you, the stronger you're going to be, regardless whether they have positive thoughts or not.
Right. So
like,
if they see you as a massive negative force, pick your favorite, you could just use Satan as an example. Satan's going to be stronger if more people fear him. That's just that simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, the only time that, like, essentially in these kind of in an imagine / belief based power system, the two worst things that could happen to you are no one knows about you, or people believe that you are weak.
Yeah.
Which, in Shinra's case, people don't believe that he is weak because he just killed Raffles. They now have a scaling for him of, he's a big deal, he just killed our god, basically.
Yeah.
So now he's going to be escalated in their minds as being some supreme evil, and therefore is going to be supremely powerful as a result.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. This whole sequence of just him and Sho's interaction of, like, it was a normal conversation, and then Shinra realized, oh my god, it's Sho. you gotta love the Shinra madness when it comes to that, even in a super serious situation like this. But I think all is still going according to the White Clad and Evangelist plan as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
because
Shinra's
this is what they want. If they fear the devil, they're going to want destruction even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they fear the devil, and in their eyes, the devil has won. So therefore,
there's literally no hope, and why bother living?
Yeah,
bring on the cataclysm.
So the main two things that this kind of leads in for me is, obviously we still haven't gotten Soul Eater's son yet, so presumably there's going to be some sort of, like, reincarnation of Raffles kind of thing that's going to be him becoming the new son. Because once again, the Soul Eater's son is also character. And I pointed it out immediately, but the Titan looked like a sun.
Yeah.
And Raffles' whole thing is, that he's basically the freaking apostle of the sun.
Yeah.
Saint of the sun. And then the other thing is, we keep talking about the whole like collective unconscious, all thought leading back to death. Lord Death. It's probably what's going to be the result of that.
Right.
That's probably going to be the thing that burrs Lord Death as the personification of death, rather than, bringing death to the world. It's going to be a thing of, well, we're just going to create a god of death instead.
Yeah. And somehow he ends up the way he does, which, hell of a guy.
Well, we know Lord Death originally was a more serious individual and more acted the part as a god of death. It wasn't until the more recent couple of few generations before the Soul Eater story takes place that he starts turning all goofy and just kind of being a more charismatic individual, because he starts directly interacting with mortals more once he gets bound to Death City.
Right. So either way, as it stands, well, once again, this was another sequence that I feared that some stuff was potentially cut out, but that's just something we'll have to see when I read through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still haven't looked into at all what potentially was cut, but as it stands right now, I imagine probably the biggest portion of what we got cut is there probably was stuff that happened during the Shinra being unconscious bit that we just kind of missed.
Right.
There probably was at least some sort of indication as to what happened with Inca.
Right. Which she was just back, no problem, in the White Clad meeting. So, did you guys notice that Haumea was just exuding cartoonish sparks?
Yeah.
So.
Which right now she's basically the freaking conduit for the collective unconscious.
Yep. Hell of a job. I wouldn't want it. But, the other big spectacle thing here was, Iris being the eighth pillar. This was them showing off what she did in the fight against Dragon. This was just, she's able to control the power more readily now, obviously. And if she's able to stop a shockwave from Shinra, obviously she's a pretty big deal. So,
yeah, it's basically an invulnerability field.
Right. And from what we've seen, it doesn't really have any drawbacks currently. So it will be
Apart
interesting.
from it was exhausting her.
Yeah, it was exhausting her. But this does bring some fairly interesting theories as to what's going on with Amaterasu and that kind of thing. What she's capable of if Amaterasu has the majority of their power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because once again, we're still assuming she's a doppelganger, which this kind of does lead even more credence to, because even if her being the eighth pillar, her being this strong already is abnormal.
Yeah.
All the other pillars, while each of the pillars' abilities are inherently busted, this is only the second time she's ever even used her ability.
Right.
And she's already capable of doing shit to this level.
Right. So, without going super hard mathy into it, arguably her power is at least 10 times stronger than it was when she deflected the attack from Dragon. Because that took out, what equated to a fairly large section of a wall. You know what I mean?
Well, Dragon's attack was a precision attack in that the actual size of the damage wasn't high, but the force of the damage was high. That was an atomization attack. That's what part of why I say that her thing seems to be outright invulnerability.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even a case of I pointed this out at the time. It wasn't even a case of which I assumed, but at the time that it was actually some form of perfect regeneration or healing or something like that, because when Dragon does the big breath attack, there is no sign whatsoever of like a redirection of the attack.
Yeah.
They're all standing in a perfect crater. So like there's no indication that like they blocked any of the force. It was just they were unharmed by it.
Right. So basically his attack just went around them, through them, whatever. You know what I mean?
It would have had to have effectively gone through them, doing nothing to them. Which, like I said, I assumed originally that it was a regeneration of like, or like a time reversion of they get annihilated, but then immediately return to their previous state.
Right.
But the terrain around them is still affected normally.
Yeah,
but it seems, in this case, to be more of just outright negation of the effect in general. It's just anyone affected by her, you cannot be have their state changed at all.
Right. So that is pretty insane as it stands. And once again, that's her at conservatively less than 10%. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Admittedly, she is being empowered by the fact that Adola is close.
Yeah.
But once again, this is still way beyond anything we've seen any of the other pillars being capable of doing this early on after Awakening.
So, either way, definitely a very solid sequence for what it was. I just hope that we're not missing out on a bunch of interesting things. So, maybe they could have used another season, who knows? But we'll talk about that when we get through the halfway point here. This is episode 4, so after 2 more episodes, I'll go and read up to the point wherever that ends, and then we'll talk about it, and then again at the end of the season, and kind of do a mid-season compare, and then an end of the season compare, because it, based on the way this is going, I don't think they're not going to finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
the fact that we've rushed the pillars like this definitely seems like we are going to get the final confrontation in this core, especially because like we've rushed not just because we've rushed the pillars, but once again the OP, we see Demon Shinra and several other big indicators that this is gonna be over within this core.
Right. So, anyway, another solid episode. We'll have more to talk about as a couple weeks here, but just have to take each episode for what it is, and it was fine. It's not like it's low quality or anything like that in any way, shape, or form. The effect that Iris put off was, I've talked about particle density in the past. This was insane particle density. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, so far there's yet to be a bad episode. We're just still also going in with a massive case of skepticism because we know how much source material they have to get through.
Right. So it's not like the episode's been bad. It's just one of those things of like, maybe you guys should have just done another season. But there could be any myriad of reasons for them to not do that. For whatever reason. Like the Dress Up Darling showrunner was like, I don't want to put out a bad anime. It's like, yeah, but you only have to do one more season. What, you guys haven't put out a bad show. The first 2 seasons of that were great. What are you talking about? Just do what you did again. Just take the same amount of time. What's going on here? You know what I mean? And it's not like you guys have to run, it's not like a Comey situation. You have one more season to do. The source material is over. Just if you do another 12, 13 episode season, maybe with a 14 OVA or something, you're done. It's over. And a lot of people, in that case, they're pointing at Rent a Girlfriend and going, we're getting 5 seasons of this garbage, but you guys won't finish an actual good show? This is crazy. Obviously different studios, but just the premise of the industry. It's like, hold on a second. This is getting 5 seasons and potentially getting all of it, but a much better show and series is not. That is insane to me. So.
I suppose one thing that we haven't really brought up as a possibility when talking about all this is this could be the final core, but not the end of the story, because they could do this as the final core and then do a movie as the finale.
Right. You never know. They could do something like that. Look at what they're doing with Demon Slayer. The end of Demon Slayer is 3 movies. You know what I mean? So, anyway, that's all I really got for this one. We just kind of got to see where it goes. We can only speculate on how much until I look into the source material and whatnot. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to wait, because at this point, I'll just wait till the midway point and then again at the end of the season, see what happens. You know what I mean? But we've already talked a lot about the ramifications of fan-based stuff and whatnot, so it is what it is. The episodes have not been bad. There's nothing wrong with these episodes. It's just how much could be potentially left on the cutting room floor that is important, and, you know, see our discussions about Negretto from Overlord, that kind of Anya, what have you. So
yeah, it's once again similarly to Overlord. It's not about what we're getting being bad. It's more just about, well, how much better would it have been if they had just actually done it properly.
Right. So anyway, again, that's all I got. It was impressive. You got anything else, Age?
I think we covered everything that I was going to talk about. I do feel like we skipped Inca stuff, but I imagine she largely just had the same thing as Shinra. Like, maybe not her doppelganger taking over, but more just kind of the thing of, like, she kind of got displaced from time and wasn't around for a while, but now is just back in the White Clad. But once again, like, I assume that that's something that we skipped. Was we probably have skipped at least a few fairly big scenes with the White Clad.
Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo. It was Fire Force Season 3, Episode 16. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon. Whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.